All right, welcome in. How about this for an interview? Chris Plank joins us, Diamond Envy podcast. Excited that Chris Plank is going to be a contributor with this podcast. I mean, come on, who covers OU softball better? Who's with them every single road trip? And actually, as we're talking right now on a Wednesday afternoon, in a few hours, you're going to be in the air with the team as they're headed to California. And hey, man, there's been no time at all to rest on that national championship from last year. UCLA, Mississippi State. This is going to be a challenging weekend for the number one ranked team.
Yeah, and it's again, all eyes are on Mississippi State, but Cal Santa Barbara is a good warm up. That's a team that you should handle. Not a bad squad, but again, a team you should handle. But you get Mississippi State, so you get an SEC team. It's a team that Oklahoma saw last year, and Sam Ricketts being the coach out there obviously lends some familiarity. The former Sooner, great, but yeah, Tyler, it's good to be back in California. It's such an integral part of what Oklahoma has done as a program. So many California greats have been a part of the building of Sooner softball. So to have the opportunity to travel again to the West Coast and doing it, 2 times in the next 3 weeks, I think is big for our West Coast fans and also big for recruiting.
Yeah, and I was about to ask about recruiting because in other sports, you schedule a home and home, and it's, they're just scheduling that for recruiting. They just want to get to that area of the country.
Right.
And OU recruits California as good, if not better, than anyone else in the country. So, I mean, not only is it big to be out there, but, I mean, come on, Plank. We're talking about Jocelyn Allo, Kinsey Hansen, Jordy Ball, the names. Like, it's almost like the show is coming to the West Coast with all the headline names that this softball team has coming into this year.
Yeah, and all I don't know if I've ever really done it before, but this year when we go back to Palm Springs, which is, this week we're off to Irvine, California and Cal Santa Barbara. Next week is Houston, and that following week is Palm Springs. They're like rock stars. They have lines of people waiting to get their autographs, and knowing that this is going to be Jocelyn's last year. We got the trip to Hawaii here in a month from now. So, yeah, it's when they say we're taking the show on the road, it truly is true. There's obviously family for the California girls on this roster that they want to see, and friends. Taylon Snow is from Chino Hills, and she's got a laundry list of people that are excited to see her in Norco product. Kinsey Hansen. It's good to see these players go back home, but you're right. It's more than just, getting an opportunity to go showcase what Oklahoma softball is all about. It's truly a chance, for, I think, young girls, for fans of the sport, to see these players up close and personal in a unique environment. I mean, from what I've come to understand, when we're playing on Saturday night, Tyler, against UCLA, it's kind of like if you put like grandstands around one of the fields in Reeves Park. That's not a knock on either one. It's just it's a smaller, unique setting. So it's almost like you go to the park and they're like, oh, Oklahoma and UCLA are playing softball here. So that's cool. And listen, you hit on the recruiting side of it too. I think that's one of my favorite parts of this is some might say, oh, well, can't talk about recruiting. No, Oklahoma makes no bones about it. They go out to California because they know there's a lot of great talent out there, and they want those future Sooners to see what their product and what their team is all about, and to see coach and to be around her. So yeah, it's a big time couple of weeks here for Sooner softball.
I've been really interested to hear just kind of how they're handling the expectations going in. Well, anytime you're the preseason number one ranked team, you know that it's kind of national championship or bust aspirations, whether that's fair or not. But as we look at it, we know what this team has coming back. I mean, they're loaded. So for JT Gasso to come on your radio show here at the Ref, the Plank Show, and to hear Patty Gasso in some, interview opportunities, they're not shying away from the fact that this team, Chris, has a chance to be forever known as one of the best that's ever played the sport. Like, I didn't know exactly how they'd approach it, but they're being upfront and honest of what we already know is they have that chance. They have the chance to be forever known as the best that's ever done it. And I think that that's pretty cool that they're not shying away from it or hiding it. It's like, yeah, we got a chance. Let's see if we can get it done.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that stems over their excitement of their pitching staff, right? We know what they have hitting-wise. They saw this team last year hit more home runs than anyone in college softball history has hit in a season, and they bring back everyone from that offense except one person. I mean, that's incredible when you think about it, right? So you're going to score runs. The difference is I haven't had a chance to be around Coach a lot. I think she gets tired of me after the season, so I kind of try to leave her alone. But, in just the little amount of time that I've been around her, I don't know if I've seen Coach Gasso as fired up about a freshman as she is Jordy Ball right now. And that's exciting. And I should be clear, a pitcher as a freshman, because they're pretty excited about Sid Romero back in 2016. So I don't know if I've seen this kind of juice behind Coach Gasso for a youngster like Jordy Ball, who, again, I just think the world of her. I haven't had a chance to really meet or be around Jordy. This will be my first chance, but the Nebraska product, #1 recruit in the country, good hitter, great pitcher. I think that makes you feel a little bit more confident about your chances coming back, especially whenever you graduate all your pitchers, right? G. Juarez, the College World Series player of the MVP, is gone. Shannon Sale, who provided a lot, is gone. You've had, I know Brooke Vestal didn't throw a lot, but she provided a pretty cool emotional side to it. She's a good kid. She's gone. Olivia Rage, who started one of the games in the regional, she's gone, right? So you've got a challenge in trying to rebuild this pitching staff. And, you bring back Nicole May, who was great during the super regionals. And I know I'm really going here with the pitching staff, but, you didn't see her in the Women's College World Series much. So now you bring in a whole fresh staff with all your experience and even maybe some personalities that are gone. And the way that they're performing in practice right now leading into this season, I think that gives this team the confidence that maybe that pressure to repeat is a little bit less than it has been in years past, like after 16 and after 17.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Jordy Ball has been doing more than holding her own in scrimmages. I mean, because that's a murderer's row lineup. Are you kidding me? When you got to go like Allo, Hansen, like Grace Lyons back to back potentially. But it sounds like Jordy Ball's been holding her own. So we know the sky's the limit with her. No doubt about it. The one thing that I'm going to guess that you don't want is you don't want to go into postseason play and maybe she hasn't seen the best lineups. That's going to happen. When you see Oklahoma State, when you see Texas in conference, that's going to happen. My question is, though, is being a true freshman, do you think that there's a chance? Is it more likely, less likely than that we see her against a team like UCLA this weekend? Like, do you want to get her out there immediately against one of the premier programs in the country? Or do you think Patty maybe wants to ease her into things a little bit before she faces a team like that?
I don't think this is, and again, as we tape this, I'm getting ready to leave for the airport. I haven't talked to Coach yet. This is my opinion. I think she started against UCLA in the circle.
Yeah.
I think that when they play Mississippi State on Friday, I think she's starting. I think when they go down to Houston, who has a really good roster this year, I think she's starting. When they play Arizona on February 26th, I think she's starting. So, yeah, Tyler, I think the approach will be, let's get her in there. Now, if she struggles and control becomes an issue, then that changes a little bit. But my thought is Jordy Ball's going to pitch. She's not – I don't think there's going to be – and maybe in years past with some of the youngsters, I was thinking about Paige during her freshman year, 2015. She went right away, right? And even though they had some pretty good talent coming back, it was Paige Parker from day one. I think that's how it's going to be in 2022 and 2022. So for me, yeah, I think she goes. But I don't think she'll start the opener. I think Nicole May is going to start the opener on Thursday. But, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any easing Jordy Ball in at all. I think she's going to see the best lineups early, and I think Coach Gasso wants to see how she responds. There's
been a lot of questions about first base this offseason. Is Allo going to play a little first base? Is Lindsey Elam going to play a little bit of first base? Is in terms of who's going to play what position? Like Grace Lyons has got shortstop locked down. I think he's the best in the country, like I told Lindsey earlier. Is first base, though, the one where you're thinking on a game-in, game-out basis, like who's going to be over there, or is there some other position?
Outfield, I think, can be very versatile. Here's what I think. I think as far as battles that are being fought right now, I think right field and first base are two really good battles that are taking place. And I think third base, and maybe the third base battle affects first base because you're set up the middle, right? Kinsey Hansen, catcher. Elam will catch whenever, she wants a day off, but Hansen's going to be in the lineup, right? So Kinsey's your catcher, Tiara Jennings your second base person, and your shortstop is Grace Lyons. and Jada Coleman's your center fielder. You're up the middle is set. All right, what does it look like on the outside? I think, Taylor Snow played first base. Coach likes to have a very athletic first baseman. I think there's a chance that Taylor Snow, Jana Johns, Lindsey Elam are all going to be in that battle at first base. I think that there's a really good chance that you're going to see, I don't want to necessarily say a rotation, but I do think third base is going to be interesting because you automatically just think, well, Jana Johns started every game last year, so she's going to be the third baseman. Maybe, but Alyssa Brito has been very impressive at third base, Tyler. So it wouldn't surprise me if, when we open on Thursday, if Alyssa Brito isn't the opening day starting third baseman and maybe a Taylor Snow over at first. And then you have lineup versatility if it's a lefty versus a righty to where you can put Johns over at first, or heck, maybe if one of these freshmen are hitting, if it's a Tria Coleman or a Hannah Core, who's a really good outfielder, you can put her over there. I think there's a lot of versatility. Outfield is going to be fascinating because I think you have 6 really good defensive outfielders, right? Jada Coleman, Riley Boone. I mentioned Hannah Core. Where does Grace Green factor into this mix, right? Is she going to see more of an opportunity this season? Mackenzie Donahue showed her ability. And listen, I don't try to get too carried away with freshmen, but Hannah Core was one of the best defensive outfielders I saw this offseason. So, I mentioned 6 right there. There could be a 7th or an 8th that figures into that mix. I mean, Tria Coleman could be out there quite a bit. So, yeah, first base is going to be fascinating. I think you got 3 or 4 people battling there. But to me, who starts in right field, and then how is that rotation, right? Is Riley Boone going to be a right fielder, or could, in some games with the way that you see teams kind of spray the ball, might you see Jada Coleman out in the right more than a Riley Boone? I think there's going to be a lot of strategy. I hate to say, stats or kind of any metrics that goes into it, but that's how it is. There is Patty Gasso is going to look at the advanced scout, and maybe she sees a team that doesn't hit it much to center field, and you might see a Jada Coleman out in right field. I just think that's how they think, and especially with as versatile as they are and the confidence that they have in Riley Boone and in Jada Coleman, I think they can put them anywhere in the outfield. So you're right. Back to the original point. First base is big, but I also think how they use their outfielders in that rotation is going to be fascinating. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Isn't that crazy, though? Because if you want to talk about stars of the Women's College World Series last year, we obviously got to start with G. I mean, G was fantastic last year, and maybe was the –
Yeah, now you're good.
All good? Yeah. So what I was saying is, what's so crazy is if you want to talk here, you got to start with G, right? I mean, G was instrumental for sure. But, you throw out Aloe, you throw out a couple different names, but she played her best softball in the biggest moments last year. So you win a national championship as a sophomore, you hit home runs, you make great defensive plays, and then you probably go into the offseason. I'm not saying that this was her mentality, but you can understand if it was like, okay, well, I got my position locked, I got my position solidified for the next 2 years or so. And her who finished the year so strong, now you got to fight for your life to get that starting spot because there's as much depth in the outfield as maybe there's been in this program.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention Jocelyn because I kind of figured Jocelyn's going to figure in as a DP for majority of this season, and maybe if Kinsey Hansen isn't catching, maybe Jocelyn will be out in the outfield. But you're right. You think about the star that Lou Donahue became in the Women's College World Series, right? Coming off subpar. I think she would even say that freshman season. And now, here was someone who last year in their opener played second base. And now you look at her and you saw the leaping plate that she made and the diving catches that she made. And you're like, she factors into this outfield rotation. But no one sat, right? It's nonstop battles. Patty Gasso thrives on competition. And I think that's what's going to be so key for these players is you go in there, do your job. If you're struggling at the plate, we're going to pick you up. we know it's not going to be a lasting thing, right? You're going to bounce back. You're going to be okay, but you don't have to force anything into play. You want to play, you want to be in the lineup, but if everyone's going to hit a slump at some point, right? And so I think, Lou Donahue is one of those players that got hot at the right time and can be someone who helps bust slumps, right? In other words, let's say Jada's struggling a little bit. Well, you have the confidence in that you can slide Lou to center or Riley Boone out there and give maybe Jada a day off to kind of get her head right. That's just what I love about what Lou Donahue can do. And she's versatile. Tyler, she plays in first base her freshman year. I mean, I think Lou Donahue can play every position, but when this season starts on Thursday afternoon, I think Lou Donahue is your opening day left fielder. I think Jocelyn Alalo is your opening day DP. And I think it's a battle. Hey, who's hitting well? And that's who's going to end up being in the starting lineup consistently.
He's Chris Plank, play-by-play voice of OU softball, also the host of the Plank Show right here on the Ref. He's also the guy that needs to get out of here because he's got to catch a plane to California. But one thing before you get out of here, and I hope I'm not spoiling any secrets or anything. I just saw some Twitter chatter. That's it. Who's going to be joining you in the booth for softball games this year? Can that be revealed?
Well, I know you're talking. Nicole Mendez is going to have a radio show that she's doing, but as it stands right now, there's a really good chance that she could be joining us on the broadcast. But as it stands right now, it's very much up in the air. There's a lot of opportunities out there whenever we get back home, which is very few and far between, right? We have one home game in the first couple months of the season, but we expect DJ Sanchez, we expect Aaron Miller, and we expect to see a little Nicole Mendez with us in the booth this year. So it's going to be a fun year, dude. We got a lot of great talent, former players that are just so passionate still about the program. It's really going to be a fun season. And I was just looking at numbers. I mean, think about this, Tyler. We start the season with UC Santa Barbara. Jocelyn Allo starts the season on a little 4-game hitting streak, but in her last 3 games, she had 7 hits. 3 of those were home runs. So she was 7 for 13 with 3 home runs in the championship series last year. It's going to be a fun 2022.
Yes, it is. Hey, you're the man. Appreciate your time. Safe travels.
Thanks, Tyler. I'm excited about this podcast. We're going to talk a lot of softball here on the Ref.